Stella this, Stella that, Stella's boutique, Stella's big house, Stella's fine husband, Stella's everything. Since we were children, it has always been Stella.
My people, before we continue, hold that pillow again because the first part was only the beginning. Remember that red lipstick? The same deep red lipstick Vanessa borrowed from Stella with a sweet smile and evil hidden inside her heart. The same lipstick she carried to Mama Wani in the middle of the night. The same lipstick she rubbed on her lips for 7 nights while calling her best friend's name and asking for everything beautiful in Stella's life to become hers. Mama Wani had given Vanessa one final instruction. When the 7 nights are complete, destroy the lipstick, burn it completely and bury the ashes. Do not allow an innocent person to touch it. But Vanessa had not destroyed it. After the 7th night, she became afraid that Stella might start asking serious questions. Stella had already reminded her twice about the photo shoot for which she needed the lipstick. So Vanessa cleaned the tube carefully, wrapped it inside a small nylon bag, and returned it. "Bestie, forgive me," he told Stella with an innocent laugh. That family introduction scattered my head. I completely forgot it was still inside my handbag. Stella had been too busy to examine it. She collected the lipstick, thanked Vanessa, and dropped it inside the drawer in her bedroom. Then the cancelled orders began. The sickness came. David changed. Sophia's nightmares started. And with everything happening around her, Stella completely forgot about the small red lipstick lying quietly among her makeup products. Vanessa also forgot about it, or perhaps she chose not to remember. She was too busy enjoying the life she believed she had stolen successfully. But darkness, my people, is careless when it becomes comfortable. And sometimes, the smallest forgotten thing is exactly where God places the answer. One quiet Saturday afternoon, while Stella was still in the hospital, David went to Mile 1 Market. He needed to buy food, toiletries, fresh clothes, and a few other things Stella had asked for. He left Sophia at home with Auntie Carol, the house help. Auntie Carol was in the kitchen preparing soup. The blender was roaring. Pots were boiling. The smell of pepper, crayfish, onions, and dried fish filled the entire house. Sophia had been told to remain in the sitting room and watch cartoons. She tried. For almost 20 minutes, she sat on the rug and stared at the television. But her mind was not inside the cartoon. She missed her mother. The house felt strange without Stella. Too quiet. There was no sewing machine vibrating from the home studio. No voice calling, "Sophia, don't scatter that place." No laughter from the bedroom. No smell of Stella's perfume passing through the hallway. So Sophia switched off the television and wandered into her parents' bedroom. Now, my people, let me remind you of something about that small girl. Sophia was only 6, but she noticed everything. She noticed when her father forced a smile. She noticed when adults stopped talking because she entered the room. She noticed when her mother's perfume disappeared from the house. She even remembered the exact corner where she had seen the red-lipped woman standing during her nightmares. But Sophia also had something Vanessa had lost a long time ago. A clean heart. She walked around the room slowly, touching familiar things. She picked up her mother's perfume bottle and pressed the cap against her nose. "Mommy's smell," she whispered. She touched David's wristwatch on the bedside table. Then she moved to the small desk beside the window and flipped through Stella's sketchbook. Long gowns, big sleeves, bridal dresses, Ankara patterns. Sophia stared at them seriously as if she were checking her mother's work. Then her eyes moved toward the dressing table. One drawer was slightly open. She pulled it wider. Inside were earrings, powder palettes, mascara tubes, hairpins, lip glosses, and brushes. Then she saw it. The red lipstick. Her eyes brightened immediately. Mommy's magic color. Sophia picked it up and turned it around in her small hands. Nothing about it looked dangerous. It looked like the same lipstick she had watched Stella use many times. She removed the cap. The color was deep and bold. She smelled it. Then she raised her face toward the mirror. And, my people, she did what almost every curious 6-year-old would do. She applied it. Badly, very badly. One side went above her lips. The other side stretched toward her cheek. She pressed her lips together, the way Stella always did. Then she tilted her head and posed. When she saw herself in the mirror, she laughed so loudly she had to hold the table. Her doll, Chidima, was sitting against the pillows on the bed. David had bought the doll for Sophia's birthday. Sophia carried her. You two need to be fine. She drew a red line across the doll's mouth, then another on its cheek. She studied her work and nodded with satisfaction. Beautiful. But as she returned Chidima to the bed, her eyes fell on David's pillow. She walked to his side of the bed and pressed the lipstick against his white pillowcase. Once, twice, 3 times, small red marks appeared where his head usually rested. Then she thought about her mother. Her chest tightened. Sophia looked down at the lipstick in her hand. Mommy needs her color. She closed it and slipped it into the small pocket of her dress. Auntie Carol never noticed. The following afternoon, David dressed Sophia for the hospital. She wore a blue Ankara dress decorated with small yellow flowers. Her hair was arranged into 2 puff buns with colorful beads at the ends. The red lipstick remained hidden inside her pocket. David did not notice. His mind was too full. When they arrived at the hospital, Stella was asleep. The room was quiet except for the steady hum of the air conditioner and the occasional footsteps of nurses passing through the corridor. David placed the food and toiletries on the small table beside the bed. Then he checked his phone. The doctor wants to speak with me, he told Sophia. Stay here beside Mom. Don't touch anything. Sophia nodded. David stepped outside. She stood beside the hospital bed and looked at her mother. Stella appeared so small beneath the white sheets. The same woman who could carry Sophia on one hip, answer a customer's call, and still select fabrics with her free hand. The same woman who entered a room and made people look up. Now her cheeks were hollow. Her glowing chocolate skin had become dull. Her lips were pale and cracked. Sophia stared at her for a long time. Then she remembered the lipstick. She looked toward the door. Nobody was watching. Slowly, she reached into her pocket. She climbed carefully onto the edge of the hospital bed. Her face was serious with concentration, and the tip of her tongue rested at the corner of her mouth. She removed the cap. Then, with the gentlest hand she could manage, Sophia applied the deep red color to her mother's lips. It was not neat. One side was darker. Some of the lipstick touched Stella's skin, but Sophia did not care. To her, she was not playing with makeup. She was trying to bring her mother back. She was painting the strong Stella over the sick one. When she finished, she leaned close to her mother's ear. Mommy, she whispered, wake up and be fine like before. Stella remained still. Sophia placed one small hand against her cheek. Then she remembered the woman from her nightmares, the red lips, the strange smile, the voice asking for her mother's shine. Auntie Vanessa should not take your shine. Sophia whispered, your shine is yours. Nobody can take it. My people, that was the moment. A 6-year-old child with no knowledge of charms, rituals, native doctors, or spiritual battles had touched the lipstick. She had used it on herself. She had placed it on something belonging to her father. And now she had used it on the woman Vanessa had targeted. Sophia did not ask for Stella's beauty to become hers. She did not ask for favor. She only wanted her mother to wake up. Mama Mani had warned Vanessa that if an innocent person touched that lipstick with a pure heart, the charm would break. And when it broke, it would not break gently. Everything stolen would begin returning to its rightful owner. Everything sent out would turn around. The river would change direction. Vanessa had been warned, and now the current had turned against her. That same night, Vanessa was relaxing inside her new apartment. She wore a red satin night dress and lay comfortably on the sofa, watching a film while scrolling through comments on her business page. New fabric deliveries were stacked in the next room. Her phone had been ringing all day with customers. For the first time in her life, people were calling her successful, and Vanessa loved it. She had trained herself not to think about Stella. Whenever guilt tried to enter her mind, she pushed it away. Stella would survive. Stella already had enough. Why should one person have everything? Those were the lies she told herself. A few minutes after midnight, something struck her chest. Vanessa sat upright. At first, she thought it was indigestion. Then the pain spread. It moved through her body with such force that she screamed. The glass in her hand fell and shattered against the tiled floor. She tried to stand, but her legs failed. She collapsed beside the sofa, clutching her chest. It felt as though something invisible had reached inside her and was pulling everything out at once. Her breath, her strength, her confidence, every sweet thing she believed she owned. Vanessa screamed again. Then, suddenly, the pain stopped. Just like that, she remained on the floor, trembling and covered in sweat. By morning, she had 7 missed calls. All were from customers. She returned the first call. "Good morning, madam. I saw your call." "Yes, Vanessa. About those 6 dresses, please don't start them again." Vanessa sat up. "But you already selected the fabrics." "I know. I've changed my mind." The call ended. Vanessa called the second customer. "I found another designer." The third wanted her deposit returned. The fourth claimed she was no longer attending the event. The fifth suddenly said she was traveling. The excuses were different. The message was the same. They were leaving. By afternoon, Vanessa rushed outside because she had an appointment with a new client. She entered her Camry and turned the key. Nothing happened. She tried again. The engine coughed once and went silent. Vanessa called a mechanic. The man spent nearly 2 hours checking the battery, the fuel system, the engine, and the wiring. Finally, he stood up and wiped his hands on a dirty cloth. "Madam, this car should start." "Then why is it not starting?" The mechanic frowned. "I don't know." He called another mechanic. The second man checked everything again. Same answer. Nothing was clearly wrong. Yet the car refused to move. That evening, Vanessa's 10-year-old daughter Chiamaka returned from school. Chiamaka was usually quiet and observant, but that evening she seemed restless. She dropped her school bag near the door and began walking around the sitting room. "Mommy, I want to see Auntie Stella." Vanessa stopped scrolling on her phone. "What did you say?" "I want to go to Auntie Stella's house." "Why?" Chiamaka pulled at the sleeve of her school uniform. "The color is finished." Vanessa's stomach tightened. "What color?" "The red one." Chiamaka looked confused, as though she did not understand the words coming from her own mouth. She grabbed her car keys, then remembered the Camry would not start. That same night, she borrowed a neighbor's car and drove towards the village outside Port Harcourt. She drove too fast. She ignored potholes. She ran 2 red lights. And all through the journey, she prayed under her breath. Funny, isn't it? She had gone to the darkness willingly. But the moment the darkness turned toward her, she remembered God. When Vanessa reached Mama Wine's compound, she jumped out of the car and began banging on the metal gate. The old woman appeared with a kerosene lamp in one hand. Her face showed no surprise. "I warned you," she said. Vanessa's breathing was heavy. "What happened to me?" "You already know. My customers are leaving. My car has stopped working. Something attacked me last night." Mama Wine stared at her. "Where is the lipstick?" Vanessa opened her mouth. Nothing came out. "Where is it?" the old woman repeated. "I returned it to Stella." For the first time, Mama Wine's expression changed. She kept asking for it. "I thought the work was already complete. I told you to destroy it. I forgot." "No," Mama Wine said quietly. "You became proud." Vanessa began shaking her head. "Please, just tell me what happened." An innocent child touched it. Vanessa stopped moving. Mama Wine continued. "The child used it on herself. She placed it on something belonging to the man of the house. Then she used it on the woman you targeted." Vanessa's knees weakened. A charm created through selfishness cannot survive an innocent act of love. The moment that little girl placed the lipstick on her mother, everything broke. Everything you pulled from Stella is returning to her. Vanessa began crying. Her health, her business, her home, her husband's love, her favor, her shine, please. And everything you sent toward her is returning to you. Stella's recovery did not come slowly. It came suddenly, like light breaking into a room that had been dark for too long. The morning after Sophia used the red lipstick on her, a nurse entered the hospital room and paused. Something had changed. Stella's face had more color. Her breathing was steadier. Even her hands no longer looked as weak as they had the day before. The doctor checked her and frowned in surprise. "Mrs. Stella, how are you feeling today?" Stella opened her eyes slowly, hungry. The nurse laughed. It was the first time Stella had asked for food in days. David rushed downstairs and returned with rice and stew. Stella ate slowly at first, then with more strength. David sat opposite her, watching every spoonful. "Why are you staring at me?" she asked. He shook his head and smiled. "I'm just happy to see you eat." By the next day, Stella could sit up without help. Her temperature stabilized. The weakness began leaving her body. Chest that had confused the doctors started returning normal. Her hair stopped falling. The dryness left her skin. The doctors called it a remarkable recovery. David called it a miracle. Within a week, Stella was walking slowly along the hospital corridor. When Stella was discharged, David wanted to take her straight home. "Let us go to the boutique first," she said. "Stella, you need rest." "I have rested enough." David looked at her face and knew there was no point arguing, so he drove her to Stella's Threads. The boutique looked tired. Some machines were covered. The racks were half empty. Only a few tailors remained. Peace, one of Stella's oldest workers, saw her through the glass door. "Madame." She dropped the fabric in her hand and ran toward her. The remaining workers gathered around Stella. One cried. Another began praying. Stella stood in the middle of the boutique and breathed in the familiar smell of fabric, thread, starch, and pressing iron. She touched one of the sewing tables. "We are starting again," she said. That afternoon, she opened her sketchbook. At first, her hand shook. Then she drew one line. Another followed. Soon, she was lost in her work. The new designs were stronger than anything she had created before. Bold sleeves, structured gowns, rich combinations of Ankara, lace and adire. It was as though everything she had survived had entered her hands and made her more creative. Then the call started. A former customer from Abuja called first. "Stella, I don't even know why I cancelled that order." Can you still make the pieces? Another customer called the next morning. Then another. Some apologized. Others could not explain why they had stayed away. Within 2 weeks, the sewing machines were running again. Then a fashion event in Lagos contacted her. They wanted 12 original pieces for a runway showcase. Stella read the email 3 times. While Stella was rising, Vanessa's life was collapsing fast. Her customers disappeared. The phone that once rang all day became silent. Some customers demanded refunds. Others accused her of copying Stella's designs. Her landlord came for unpaid rent. Within weeks, Vanessa had to leave the apartment. The red Camry never worked properly again. She sold it at a heavy loss. Then the furniture started going. She had borrowed money to pay Mama Wanyi and collected fabrics on credit when her business was booming. Now she had nothing. No money, no stock, no car, no explanation. Even her family began pulling away. The cousins who once visited every weekend became busy. Her siblings stopped returning calls. Only Chiamaka remained close, watching her mother's life fall apart without understanding why. At night, Vanessa sat inside her small room and remembered Stella's kindness. Vanessa had rejected help because help required patience. She wanted Stella's results without Stella's struggle. Now she had neither. 3 months after leaving the hospital, Stella decided to visit Vanessa. She did not go with police. She did not post anything online. She simply drove to the small compound where Vanessa now lived. When Vanessa opened the door, Stella almost did not recognize her. The stylish hair was gone. An old scarf covered her head. Her lips were dry, and her eyes were swollen. For a few seconds, neither woman spoke. They sat beneath an old mango tree in the compound. A generator hummed nearby. Children played football down the road. Dry leaves moved across the ground. Stella looked at the woman she had once called her sister. "We grew up together," she said. "We shared food. We shared secrets. I welcomed you into my home." Vanessa lowered her head. "You were struggling. I offered to help you." "I know. I offered to teach you." Vanessa began to cry. "I'm sorry. You did not want my help." Stella said. "You wanted my life." Vanessa covered her mouth. Her crying became louder. "What did you do?" Stella asked. Vanessa looked up. There was no point lying anymore. "I went to Mama Wanyi." The name sat heavily between them. "I gave her your lipstick. She told me to use it for 7 nights. I called your name and asked for what belonged to you to become mine." Stella looked at Vanessa for a long moment before speaking. "You knew exactly what you were doing." Vanessa's lips trembled. "I don't know who I became." "No," Stella replied calmly. "You knew. You just kept choosing jealousy until it became stronger than your conscience." Vanessa wiped her face with the back of her hand. Tears continued to fall. "I was jealous. Every time I came to your house, I felt small. I saw your husband, your daughter, your boutique, your car, everything. I kept asking why your life was moving while mine was standing still." Stella's expression hardened. "You were watching my results, Vanessa. You were not watching my work." "You saw the boutiques," Stella continued, "but you did not see the nights I stayed awake sewing until my back hurt. You saw customers rushing into my shop, but you did not see the months when nobody came. You saw my car, but you did not see me carrying fabric through the Obu. Do you understand what you almost destroyed? My husband suffered. My daughter screamed through the night. My workers lost their jobs. My business nearly collapsed. I nearly died. I know," Vanessa whispered. "No," Stella said. "You only understand now because everything came back to you." She placed one hand against her chest. "You interrupted my life, but you could not become me." Vanessa's hands shook in her lap. "My destiny is mine, and yours is yours." Stella picked up her handbag. I forgive you. For one brief moment, hope appeared on Vanessa's face. But Stella was not finished. Forgiveness does not mean I will let you back into my life. Vanessa's face fell. I cannot carry hatred and still carry the life God returned to me. Vanessa began shaking her head. Stella looked directly at her. You will not enter my home again. You will not come near my husband, my daughter, or my business. Her voice remained calm, but every word was final. I forgive you, Vanessa, but I am choosing my family, my peace, and myself. Then Stella turned and walked toward her car. She did not look back. Vanessa remained beneath the mango tree, crying over the friendship she had destroyed with her own hand. My people, jealousy does not always begin as hatred. Sometimes it begins with one quiet question. Why her and not me? But when you continue feeding that question with bitterness and comparison, it grows until it changes you. Vanessa wanted Stella's reward without Stella's journey. She saw the boutique, the car, and the beautiful home. She did not see the old sewing machine, the sleepless nights, or the years of struggle. Real success has roots. Anything stolen has an expiry date. And finally, forgiveness does not mean giving someone access to hurt you again. Stella forgave Vanessa, but she protected her family and her peace. That was not wickedness. That was wisdom. So my people, what would you have done? Would you have forgiven Vanessa and kept your distance? Or would you have cut her off without another word? Drop my shine is mine. In the comments if you stayed until the end. And remember, not every smile is friendship, but what is truly yours cannot be permanently stolen.